Have you ever felt truly alone? Not the kind of alone where you're just sitting by yourself, but the kind where you're surrounded by people and still no one really sees you. That's where my story begins. A few years ago, I lost everything I thought defined me. My friends, my job, my confidence, and the belief that I mattered. One by one, the things I loved started slipping away, and I didn't even know how to stop it. At first, I tried to act strong. I smiled in front of people, said, "I'm fine," while inside, I was breaking a little more every day. The truth? I wasn't fine. I was tired. Tired of pretending, tired of trying, tired of feeling like I didn't belong anywhere. One night, I found myself walking alone through the city. It was cold, the streets were empty, and I could see my reflection in the shop windows, a face I barely recognized. I stopped under a flickering streetlight, closed my eyes, and whispered, "Maybe this is it. Maybe I'm just not meant to make it." For the first time in my life, I thought about giving up completely. But then, from somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice said, "Not yet." It wasn't loud. It wasn't heroic. It was just gentle. But it was enough. I went home that night still broken, but holding on to those two words, "not yet." The next morning, I made a decision. Not to fix my life, not to have all the answers, just to keep going, one day at a time. So I did. Even when nobody noticed. Even when I felt invisible. Even when I cried silently into my pillow so no one would hear. Because deep down, I realized something. Sometimes you have to walk alone so you can learn how strong you really are. I started doing small things. Waking up early, going for a walk, writing one good thought every day. It didn't change my life instantly, but it changed me. I stopped waiting for someone to save me. I stopped blaming the world for not understanding, and slowly, step by step, I started saving myself. Weeks turned into months. The loneliness didn't vanish overnight, but it started feeling different. Instead of seeing it as emptiness, I started seeing it as space. Space to grow, to breathe, to become someone new. I learned to enjoy my own company, to sit in silence without feeling lost, to find peace in the simple things, a sunrise, a cup of coffee, a quiet walk. And that's when I realized maybe being alone isn't a punishment. Maybe it's preparation. There's something powerful about rebuilding yourself in silence. When no one's cheering for you, when no one even knows what you're fighting through, you start to find your real strength. You stop doing things for validation. You stop chasing people who never saw your worth. And you start becoming the kind of person who doesn't need the crowd to feel complete. That's what happened to me. For the first time, I wasn't living to impress anyone. I was just living, honestly, quietly, intentionally. And little by little, things began to shift. I started feeling lighter, calmer, more grounded. The same streets that once felt cold and lonely now felt peaceful. The same silence that once scared me became the sound of healing. Because when you finally stop running from loneliness, you realize it's not your enemy, it's your mirror. That night, when I stood alone under that flickering streetlight, I thought my story was over. But now I know. It was just the beginning. Because sometimes you have to lose everything to find the one thing that truly matters, yourself. Months passed. I was still alone most days, but I wasn't afraid of it anymore. Because somewhere between losing everything and learning to breathe again, I discovered something rare, peace in my own company. I started setting small goals, not to impress anyone, but to prove to myself that I could keep going. I learned a new skill. I started journaling about gratitude. I even joined a local group just to meet new people, Not because I needed validation, but because I wanted connection, not approval. And slowly, life began to respond. Doors I never expected started to open. Opportunities appeared. Not big ones, but enough to make me believe that I was moving forward again. It was like the universe was whispering, "See? You were never really alone. You just had to find yourself first." One morning, I was walking down the same street where I once whispered, "Maybe this is it." The same flickering streetlight, the same cold wind brushing my face. But this time, it felt different. I wasn't broken anymore. I wasn't running from the silence. I was walking in it, steady, calm, proud. And I realized something that changed me forever. Being alone isn't weakness. It's strength in its purest form, because it takes courage to stand when no one claps for you. It takes power to believe in yourself when no one else does. And it takes heart to keep walking forward when the world has turned its back. I used to think the worst thing in life was to be alone. Now I know. The worst thing is forgetting who you are just to be accepted by others. When you stop chasing people and start chasing peace, everything changes. You stop begging for love and start becoming love. You stop waiting for someone to believe in you and start believing in yourself. And that's when everything begins to fall into place. One evening, I sat by the window watching the sunset. The sky was painted with colors I'd never noticed before. Soft orange, deep purple, golden streaks fading into blue. I thought about how far I'd come from standing under that streetlight, ready to give up, to sitting here, now grateful to be alive, grateful to have learned what loneliness was really teaching me. It wasn't teaching me how to survive without people. It was teaching me how to stand tall within myself. A few months later, I started sharing my story online, not to get attention, but to reach the ones who felt like I once did, to the ones who cry silently at night, to the ones who smile during the day but are breaking inside, to the ones who think they're alone in this world. And you know what I tell them? You're not broken. You're becoming. Because that's what pain does. It shapes you. It strengthens you, and it strips away everything fake so you can see what's real. If you're walking alone right now, don't be afraid. You're not falling behind, you're just building silently. While others are chasing attention, you're building endurance. While others seek noise, you're learning peace. And when your time comes, you'll rise quietly but powerfully. So to anyone listening who feels invisible, who feels forgotten, who's fighting battles nobody sees, don't give up. Your silence doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're growing roots deep underground, preparing to bloom where no one expected you to. You are becoming the kind of person who can walk through darkness and still see light. Never forget this. The people who walk alone often go the farthest, because they're not distracted by the crowd, they're guided by their purpose. So keep going, even when it's lonely, even when it hurts, even when no one says, "I'm proud of you." Because one day, you'll look back and realize, the nights you cried in silence were the nights you were actually reborn. And if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that it's okay to walk alone, then please like, share, and subscribe. Not for me, but because someone out there tonight feels exactly how you once did. And your share might be the reason they decide to keep going.